Good evening, everyone. So today's session is going to be about mechanism of labor in the normal presentation, which is LOT and LOA, and also in the abnormal presentations and malpositions. Can we start slide sharing, Vibha?
Yes.
Yeah. So mechanism of labor, next slide, please. Are the series of changes which take place in the fetal head, the series of movements that occur on the head in the process of adaptation during its journey through the pelvis. If you look at this definition, in last class, we had studied about the definition of labor. Labor is the series of changes that take place in the genital organs in an effort to expel the products of conception out into the world. Okay. Whereas here it is the series of movements or positional changes which occur on the fetal head. So labor actually deals with whatever changes are happening in the cervix, like effacement, dilatation, whereas a mechanism of labor, we are going to study about what changes are happening in the fetal head. So when they ask you in the exam to demonstrate any mechanism of labor, you should start with these terminologies, which we covered in the first class. So this class is going to be an amalgamation of the first and the second class. We need to recollect all that information. So if they ask you to demonstrate mechanism of labor in left occipitotransverse, you say that the baby is in longitudinal lie in cephalic presentation. The presenting part is vertex. Okay. The engaging diameter is suboccipitobregmatic, and diameter of engagement is transverse diameter of inlet, not vertex, pelvic inlet. Okay. So what is the difference between engaging diameter and diameter of engagement? Engaging diameter is the diameter on the fetal skull. Diameter of engagement is the diameter on the pelvis. Okay, so this is the difference between engaging diameter and diameter of engagement. Now, in this position in LOT, can anybody tell me what is the denominator? What will be the denominator in this position? Yes, occiput. Okay, so the denominator is going to be the occiput. Just excuse me for a second. Yeah, so the denominator here is the occiput. So we are going to study the mechanism of labor in this. Now, mechanism of labor are the series of changes which are happening. Next slide. So what are these changes? We have engagement, descent, flexion, internal rotation, crowning, extension, restitution, external rotation, and expulsion. Okay. Now you have to remember the diameters of the pelvis. Now in the pelvic inlet, which is the largest diameter? Is it anteroposterior, transverse, or oblique? Among these three, which is the largest diameter? Yes, the transverse diameter. So the commonest position is going to be left occipitotransverse. Yes, because the head wants to comfortably pass through the pelvis. So it will choose the widest diameter available to it, which is the transverse diameter of the pelvis. So the sagittal suture is going to lie in the transverse diameter through the suboccipitobregmatic diameter of the pelvis, enters through the transverse diameter of the pelvis. Following this, there is descent, flexion, internal rotation. Now, if you look at the different positions, the purpose of internal rotation is to get the denominator behind the symphysis pubis. Okay. There are certain exceptions to this rule. We'll come to that later. In internal rotation, it is getting the occiput behind the symphysis pubis. So internal rotation, as I told you, if you remember, happens at the level of the obstetric outlet. Okay. The obstetric outlet or the plane of least pelvic dimensions. Now, what is the maximum diameter in this? Is it the anterior-posterior or transverse in the level of the outlet? At the level of outlet, it is the anterior-posterior. So that is why this circus is happening in the head, where it enters the pelvis. it wants to enter where there is maximum space, which is the transverse diameter. And by the time it comes to come out of the pelvis, the maximum diameter changes. The transverse is the smallest diameter, the bispinous. There is very little space for the head. So the head tries to rotate and come in the space which has maximum diameter, which is anteroposterior. That is the purpose of internal rotation. Okay. Then crowning is when the head is coming out of the vulva, and delivery is by extension because the head will be flexed and it has to deliver by extension. Now restitution is nothing but untwisting of the neck. Now external rotation. Now external rotation is again happening to get the shoulders into the maximum available diameter. So again, now shoulders have to enter into the anterior posterior diameter of the outlet. So that is why external rotation of head is happening to rotate the shoulders into the anterior posterior diameter of the outlet. So that is the purpose of why there is engagement happening in transverse diameter and internal rotation happening and turning the occiput into AP diameter. Then again, external rotation happening to get the shoulders into the AP diameter. Now let us look at all of these steps one by one. Next slide. So what is engagement? Engagement in simple terms is the head entering the pelvis. Okay, so the head entering the pelvis is engagement, but which part of the head and which part of the pelvis? So the maximum transverse diameter of the head entering the highest, the superior most part of the pelvis. So when the largest transverse diameter, that is the biparietal, passes the plane of the pelvic brim or the pelvic inlet, the head is said to be engaged. So nothing but head entering the pelvis is called engagement. But which part of the head? The biparietal diameter, that is the greatest transverse diameter of the head, entering into the plane of the pelvic brim, that is the superior most part of the pelvis. When it crosses that, the head is said to be engaged. Okay, and there are different types of engagement. There is synclitic engagement and asynclitic engagement. Okay, synclitic engagement is when the head enters in this position, which you can see in this figure, where the sagittal suture is corresponding to the transverse diameter of the inlet. Okay, this is synclitic engagement. Asynclitic engagement is deflection of head in relation to the pelvis. Can we have the next slide? Okay, so this is showing asynclitic engagement. Okay, the picture B is showing synclitism. This is how the head is entering into the pelvis. The sagittal suture is corresponding to the transverse diameter of the pelvic inlet. This is synclitic engagement. So the diameter which is entering here, the transverse diameter, is biparietal, which is 9.5 centimeters. Okay. Now, if there is a slightly borderline pelvis and the baby wants to decrease the diameter entering the pelvis, it follows the principle of asynclitism. Okay. So in asynclitism, the diameter which comes into play is super subparietal. It is not the bilateral parietal eminences which enter the pelvis. It is super subparietal. Okay. Super subparietal diameter will be about 0.5 to 1 centimeter less than parietal, from one parietal eminence, above one parietal eminence to below one parietal eminence. So that is the purpose of asynclitism, to decrease the available diameter entering into the pelvis. So from biparietal, the diameter becomes super subparietal. So there are two ways by which the baby can do that. So you can see in figure A, the sagittal suture is deflected posteriorly towards the sacrum. Okay. So when the sagittal suture is deflected posteriorly towards the sacrum, when you do PV examination, the bone which you feel is the anterior parietal bone. Okay. So although the sagittal suture is deflected posteriorly, we call this as anterior asynclitism, because on PV examination, the bone presenting is anterior parietal bone. Okay. So figure A is showing anterior asynclitism. Another name for this is Naegele's obliquity. Okay, Naegele's obliquity. If you look at picture C, the sagittal suture is deflected towards the pubic symphysis anteriorly. It is closer to the pubic symphysis. So when you do PV examination in this patient, the bone which you feel is the posterior parietal bone. So this is called as posterior asynclitism. So asynclitism is not named if the anterior or posterior parietal, it is not named on whether the sagittal suture is reflected anteriorly or posteriorly. It is actually opposite. If sagittal suture is reflected posteriorly, it is anterior asynclitism. And in figure C, sagittal suture is reflected anteriorly, so it is posterior asynclitism, depending upon which parietal bone you are feeling on PV examination. Now, the purpose of this asynclitism was simply to reduce the transverse diameter available, which is entering the pelvic brim, to decrease it from biparietal to super subparietal diameter. Next slide, please. So descent and flexion happens throughout labor. It is not like the steps in labor, which I said, engagement, descent, flexion, they are not only coming one after the other, but there is a certain temporal overlap between the steps. Descent and flexion happens even after internal rotation, and during expulsion also descent is continuously happening. Okay, it is a continuous process, more pronounced in the second stage of the fetus. So what are the factors which help in descent? That is straightening of the fetal ovoid. If you see the first figure, the spine is straightening. The normal position is the figure C, where there is convexity of the fetal spine. So then there is straightening of the fetal spine. There is more and more descent of the fetal head. This is one of the factors responsible for descent. Okay, where there is descent of the fetal head. Other factors are uterine contractions and bearing down, and the pressure from the amniotic fluid. All of this will help in descent. Now, the purpose of flexion is to get the smallest circumference or the smallest diameter available to enter through the pelvis. Okay. In figure A, the head is deflexed. Okay. How you can know is by seeing the space between the chin and the chest. The chin of the baby is not touching the chest. So the diameter is very big. As you can see, this is actually the diameter available to enter the pelvis is huge. This green line, which you can see. Now, when the head gets flexed and the chin touches the chest, and in a well-flexed head, the diameter entering the pelvis, the green line becomes much shorter. So by flexion, the baby is trying to get its smallest diameter to enter the pelvis so that it can enter the pelvis easily. Okay, if flexion doesn't happen, that labor gets delayed because larger diameters will present at the pelvis, and it is difficult for the baby to enter the pelvis. So this is the next two processes which happen, which is descent and flexion. Next slide, please. So internal rotation. So as I told you, internal rotation happens at the level of the ischial spine. In left occipito-anterior, okay? When in left occipito-anterior, when the baby is entering into the pelvis, in the start of labor, it enters in the oblique diameter of the pelvis, the right oblique diameter of the pelvis. This is suture and lies in the right oblique diameter. The occiput is facing the left ischiopubic eminence. Okay, it has to move 45 degrees internal rotation. As I told you, the purpose of internal rotation, at the end of internal rotation, occiput has to be behind the symphysis pubis. It doesn't matter if it is LOA, LOT, or LOP. Okay, at the end of internal rotation, the occiput has to come behind the symphysis pubis. That is the purpose of internal rotation, to get the sagittal suture in the AP diameter, which is the widest diameter available at the outlet. Okay, so in LOA, in the starting, so when the occiput is at the ischiopubic eminence, it has to move only 1/8 of a circle. Only 45 degrees movement is seen in the head. Okay, when there is a 45-degree movement in the head, there is no movement at the level of the shoulders. The shoulders are comfortable. Neck has no torsion because neck can sustain a torsion of 45 degrees. Okay, shoulders do not move in LOA position. In LOA, occiput moves 1/8 of a circle and comes behind the symphysis pubis. Shoulders continue to remain stationary. In LOT, occiput rotates 2/8 of a circle or 90 degree. When there is 90-degree rotation, there is a strain on the neck and the shoulders cannot sustain that strain. The neck cannot sustain the strain. So shoulders will move another 45 degree. Okay. So to relieve torsion on the neck, shoulders rotate 1/8 of a circle. So this is the difference between LOA and LOT. Now, purpose of internal rotation is to get occiput behind the symphysis pubis. So in LOP, it has to move 3/8 of a circle, 345 degrees it has to move. In LOT, 2/8 of a circle, 245 degrees, 45, 45, 90 degrees. In LOA, it has to move only 1/8. Okay. Anything more than 1/8 when the baby's head moves, the shoulder also moves, because it can sustain the difference between the shoulder and the head, which can sustain is only 45 degrees. Okay. So when in LOT, when the occiput rotate 2/8 of a circle, the shoulders rotate 1/8 of a circle. Okay. You will understand better when I demonstrate with the tummy and the pelvis. Okay. You can ask me any questions if you have doubts in internal rotation then. Next slide, please. So crowning, so this movement, as you can see, is when the largest diameter of the head stretches the vulval outlet. It has come outside the pelvis and come up to the vulva, and the head is stretching the vulval outlet. Okay. So when this head is stretching the vulval outlet, so when the contraction comes, it pushes the head out. And sometimes after the contraction passes off, the head goes back in like a turtle. Okay. So this keeps happening for about 2 to 3 contractions. But at one point, even after the contraction passes off, the baby's head remains stuck here at the vulval outlet. Now that point is called crowning. Okay. So when the maximum diameter of the head stretches the vulval outlet without any recession of the head after the contraction is over, without the head going back into the uterus or vulva after the contraction is over, that point is called crowning. This point is important for us because this is the level at which we have to give an episiotomy. The perineum is beautifully thinned out and it's very easy to give an episiotomy at this point. So crowning is important for you. So how do you recognize crowning? You can see like a black hair of the baby, and it's stretching about 4 to 5 centimeters to the baby's head. You can see at the vulva. And when the patient is not having a contraction also, the head continues to remain there at that position and does not go inside. So that point is called crowning. Next slide, please. So extension. So if you remember, the third step which I told you was flexion. So the baby was in maximum flexion. The chin had touched the chest of the baby. There is no more flexion possible. So how does the baby's head deliver? It has to be in the opposite direction, which is extension. With further flexion, the baby's head cannot deliver. If it does not extend, the baby just goes through the perineum and the anus and causes third-degree perineal tear. So the only way out for the baby is to extend its head. So the delivery in LOT and LOA position is by extension, because till this point, the baby has maintained the head in flexion and got its smallest diameter possible. But once it reaches a vulval outlet in there, it has to release. It delivers by extension. And the parts which are consecutively released, if you can see, are the occiput, the brow or the vertex, the brow, and the face. So these are the successive parts which are released during extension. Next slide. Now, restitution. Okay. Restitution is a passive movement of the head due to untwisting of the neck sustained during internal rotation. So I told you that in LOA, 45 degrees, there is movement of the head and the shoulders remain stationary. So that means there is 45-degree torsion in the neck. So once the baby's head comes out and it's free, it just wants to go back to its neutral position. So that untwisting movement of the neck is called restitution. So whatever torsion it had sustained during internal rotation, that untwisting is called restitution. So that is the purpose of restitution. Okay. The purpose of restitution is to relax the neck of the baby, to get it into neutral position, and to untwist whatever torsion it had felt. Okay. Yes. Next slide, please. Now, external rotation. So as I told you, the purpose of internal rotation was to get the occiput behind the symphysis pubis. The purpose of external rotation is actually the internal rotation of shoulders into the AP diameter. So the shoulders are coming into the AP diameter, as you see in this. So the corresponding movement in the head, you can't see the movement of the shoulders which is happening in the uterus. So we are going to see the corresponding movement in the head, which is the external rotation. Okay, so that is the movement of external rotation. Next slide, please. Okay, so birth of shoulders. Now shoulders are in the AP diameter and the anterior posterior diameter is delivered first. The anterior shoulder escapes first, followed by the posterior shoulder, and then there is lateral flexion of the spine of the baby, and the rest of the trunk is delivered. So this is the mechanism of labor, normal mechanism of labor, which you should know. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so before we go to occipital posterior, I'll just demonstrate with skull and pelvis. Then we stop the screen sharing. So I will show you with skull and with dummy also. So occiput, this is left and this is right. This is right and this is left. This is left occipito-anterior. Okay, as I told you, always you're supposed to hold the skull like this. Okay, so the occiput, when it is touching the iliopubic eminence, okay, when it is touching this iliopubic eminence, it is called as left occipito-anterior. Okay, so before you start your mechanism of labor, you say this longitudinal line, cephalic presentation, presenting part vertex, attitude flexion, denominator occiput. Okay, the diameter is suboccipito-bregmatic. So this is the diameter getting inside. There is a engaging diameter, and the diameter of engagement, if you see the sagittal suture, it is lying in this direction. Okay, so which diameter of the pelvis is this? Can you see this diameter of the pelvis? The sagittal suture in left occipito-anterior is lying in this diameter, oblique. Yes, it is oblique diameter, but which oblique diameter is this? Starting from this sacroiliac joint to the opposite iliopubic eminence, which oblique diameter is this? Is it right oblique or left oblique? Right. Okay. So you have to always remember, in left occipito-anterior position, the sagittal suture is in right oblique. In right occipito-anterior position, the sagittal suture is in left oblique. It is the opposite oblique diameter which it is engaging. So the sagittal suture is lying in the right oblique. Okay. So engagement is when the parietal eminence, the biparietal diameter passes through the pelvic brim. Engagement done. Okay. So the head in left occipito-anterior position is engaging in the right oblique diameter. Okay. Engagement, descent, flexion. Imagine the chin touching the chest. Engagement, descent, flexion. Internal rotation. Purpose of internal rotation is to get the occiput behind the pubic symphysis. So 1/8, only 45 degrees the baby's head has to move. Okay. So this is internal rotation. From this iliopubic eminence, the occiput comes behind the pubic symphysis. So this is internal rotation. Now 45 degrees, I told you, is sustainable torsion. Shoulders do not have to move. So shoulders will not move. So continuously you have to remember that when this is happening, shoulders are in the same position. So the neck is having a torsion, a twist in the neck, which it releases after it comes out, which is the mechanism of restitution. Okay. So this is internal rotation. Shoulders are in same position. Neck has a 45 degrees twist. After internal rotation is crowning, where the maximum diameter of the head you see. Okay. After crowning, delivery is by extension. Delivery is by extension. Occiput, vertex, brow, face are delivered. Okay. So delivery is by extension. Now the baby had a twist in the neck, so it tries to go back to the same position which it was when it was inside the uterus. So that position is again like LOA. So the baby's occiput tries to shift towards the mother's left thigh. So this is the property of restitution, where it is untwisting its neck. So this is after delivery of the baby, this is restitution. Okay. The occiput is now pointing towards the maternal thigh. Okay. Now it wants to get the shoulders into AB diameter. It moves another 45 degrees. So this is sagittal suture come into the transverse. You have to remember the relationship between the sagittal suture and the shoulders is perpendicular. If the sagittal suture is transverse, the shoulders are going to be like this. So if you want to get the shoulders into AP diameter, you have to move the sagittal suture into the transverse diameter. So this is external rotation. So extension, occiput is in the center. Restitution 45 degrees towards the left thigh. External rotation completely towards the left thigh. So the face of the baby is towards the mother's right thigh. Okay, so this is the external rotation, which is corresponding to internal rotation. The purpose of doing this external rotation is to get the shoulders into the AP diameter. Okay, inlet. Okay, so that is external rotation. Then comes the delivery of the shoulders. To show the same thing in a dummy to you. Okay. left occiputo anterior. Occiput is towards the iliopubic canal. So left occiputo anterior. Engagement, head goes in. Okay. So now if you see here, you have to remember where the shoulders are when you're showing with the dummy. So the head is engaging in the right oblique. Shoulders are engaging in which oblique diameter? Here. Shoulders are engaging in which oblique diameter? I told you the relationship between the head and the shoulders is perpendicular. So if the head engages in right oblique, the shoulders are engaging in left oblique. So you should always remember which diameter the shoulders are in when you're showing dummy. So this is how the head engages. Engagement, descent, flexion, internal rotation. So whenever you're showing internal rotation, one hand should be holding the baby's trunk and I'll show you without the pelvis, and the other hand should be holding the head. Okay. So shoulder is in left oblique. Okay. So this is internal rotation. There is 45 degrees twist. The occiput comes to face the symphysis pubis. Shoulders continue to remain in left oblique. Crowning, extension, untwisting, restitution. It goes back to the same position. External rotation. Okay, where the shoulders come into AP diameter. So there is engagement, descent and flexion. Okay. Following which there is internal rotation, occiput touches the symphysis pubis, shoulders do not move. So the neck has a twist of 45 degrees, crowning, extension, okay, delivery of the head, shoulders still are in the left oblique diameter, okay, restitution, untwisting of the head, external rotation of the head, shoulders coming to AB diameter, okay. So when you're showing in the dummy, always better to hold one hand shoulder, one hand this. So left occipital anterior, engagement, descent, flexion, internal rotation, shoulders do not move. Okay, crowning, extension, restituting, untwisting of the neck. External rotation, you want to get the shoulders from left oblique to the anterior posterior. So external rotation, in the direction of restitution, again the head moves. So this is external rotation, shoulders come into AP diameter. Okay, so this is left occipital anterior. Now coming to left occipital transverse. Here the sagittal suture enters in the transverse diameter of the inlet. So sagittal suture is horizontal. Okay. Engagement, descent, flexion. Here internal rotation is 90 degrees. It has to go 2/8 of a circle. Okay. So 90 degrees, 2/8 of a circle. The neck cannot sustain a torsion of 2/8 of a circle. So the shoulders will move. Okay. So this is the only difference between LOT and LOA. During internal rotation, the head moves 2/8 of a circle. Because the neck cannot sustain the torsion of 2/8 of a circle, shoulders will rotate 1/8 of a circle. With the dummy, I will show you how the shoulders rotate. After that, everything is similar to LOA. The only step which changes between LOT and LOA is the step of internal rotation. So the occiput moves 2/8 of a circle. Next is crowning. Okay. Delivery by extension, restitution, 45 degrees towards the metal and thigh, external rotation. Same thing. Same as LOA. Okay. So this was LOA. This is LOT. Shoulders are in AP diameter. Sagittal suture is in transverse diameter. Okay. Engagement, descent, flexion, everything is same. Internal rotation. Now shoulder, you remember, is in the AP diameter. It occurs 2/8 of a circle. Shoulders move 1/8 of a circle from AP diameter to left oblique diameter. So now it has become exactly like LOA position. Shoulders move. The shoulders will move 1/8. The head like this will move 1/8, 2/8. Shoulders will move from AP into the left oblique. Okay. So the shoulders will come into the left oblique diameter. After that, everything is like LOA. Crowning, extension. Okay. Shoulders are still in left oblique. Restitution. The untwisting of the neck is gone. External rotation and delivery of the shoulders. Okay. So the only difference in the step is the internal rotation, where the occiput moves 90 degrees. Because the neck cannot sustain torsion of 90 degrees, from AP position, shoulders will come into left oblique. Once the shoulders come into left oblique, this becomes similar to LOA and everything else is the same. Okay, so this is the difference in LOT and LOB. Any doubts in this mechanism of labor? This is the commonest mechanism which they ask you. Okay. So in this, so always you have to remember about internal rotation and the diameter in which the shoulders are lying. So if you are clear about the diameter in which the shoulders are lying, then it's very easy to demonstrate mechanism of labor. The purpose of internal rotation is to get occiput towards the symphysis pubis from whichever position it is. So it can move 45 degrees in LOA or 90 degrees in LOT. And only 45-degree torsion, the shoulders will sustain. If more than 45 degrees the baby turn, the shoulders also will turn another 45 degrees with the head. Okay, so that is internal rotation. This next slide, please. Start with the screen sharing. Okay. So occipital posterior position. Occipital posterior position is a mal position. Okay, it is not a mal presentation. Presentation, anything other than vertex is called mal presentation. This is a mal position because here when we're doing PV, the presenting part is still the vertex. Okay, so it is a mal position. Now, why do they have occipital posterior position? It is because there is a problem in the shape of the pelvic inlet. Okay, either it is an anthropoid and android pelvis. Now, what is happening in anthropoid and android pelvis is the forepelvis is very narrow. If you remember, the subpubic angle is narrow and the anterior pelvis is like V-shaped, more narrow. So the occiput has more space to accommodate in the posterior part of the pelvis. That's why it becomes occipito posterior. Figure A is where the occiput is facing towards the right sacroiliac joint. So it is right occipital posterior. Figure B, the occiput is facing towards the left sacroiliac joint. This is left occipital posterior. There is another occipital posterior position, which is direct occipital posterior, where the occiput is touching the sacral promontory, which is not a very common position. Okay. The other factors responsible for this position is deflection. So because of deflection of the head, there is more chance of it being occipital posterior. And when there are abnormal contractions, good contraction favors flexion of the head. So when there is flexion of the head, occiput immediately will turn anterior. Okay. When there is abnormal contraction, the occiput will turn mostly posterior. So these are the factors responsible for occipital posterior position. Next slide. Okay. So there are different outcomes which we can have in occipital posterior position. Okay. So in this, we can have long rotation. That is for the occiput. Now, if you see in the first figure, the triangular shaped area is the posterior fontanelle. So you have to imagine that the occiput is that side. The diamond shaped area is the anterior fontanelle. Okay. So occipital posterior position. So in this, so it starts with the occipital posterior. See, the posterior fontanelle is here. And in the posterior position, anterior fontanelle is anterior. This is how you diagnose that. This is occipital posterior because you're feeling the near the sacroiliac joint, you're feeling the posterior fontanelle. Okay, so that becomes an occipital posterior position. Now, if there is a good contractions and well flexion of the head, this posterior fontanelle in the first figure is going to move 3/8 of a circle and come behind the pubic symphysis. Can you see the first figure? Long rotation. 3/8 of a circle, the occiput moves. Can you see from the first figure, topmost figure to the first figure, the posterior fontanelle has moved 3/8 of a circle and come to lie behind pubic symphysis. If this happens, it's a very favorable outcome. This happens in about 90% of cases. In 90% of cases, the occiput will rotate 3/8 of a circle and come to lie behind the pubic symphysis. And if this happens, the rest of the labor is similar to occipito-anterior positions. Once the occiput comes to lie behind the pubic symphysis, then we do not have a problem. Labor becomes similar to any occipito-anterior position. The rest of the steps are same. Okay. Now, what happened here in the second one is short anterior rotation. The occiput started rotating. It rotated 1/8 of a circle, and then it got stuck there. Okay. So the sagittal suture is in the transverse diameter. It's a fully dilated cervix, and from this point, the head stops rotating. This position is called, so shoulder should also rotate 2/8 of a circle in occipito posterior in the long rotation. So in the short anterior rotation, the occiput came and got stuck here. Okay. This is a common short note for you. This condition is called as what? When the sagittal suture lies in the transverse diameter of the the bispinous, and gets stuck there and labor does not progress. Does anybody know what's the name for this terminology? Here only 1/8 of a circle the occiput moves, and the sagittal suture comes into the transverse diameter of the bispinous diameter, and beyond that it is obstructed labor. But what is this specifically called? When you do PV examination, you will feel that sagittal suture is transverse and the baby's head is refusing to move from zero station. That is, this is at the level of the ischial spine. This condition is called as, very good, deep transverse arrest. Okay. So when occiput fails to rotate 3/8 of a circle, but rotates only 1/8 of a circle, and then gets stuck at that position with the sagittal suture lying horizontally, this condition is called deep transverse arrest. For UG level, if this happens, your answer should be, I am going to do a cesarean section. There are multiple rotational forceps and all available, which you need not know. So if deep transverse arrest happened, direct, you can say that I'm going to do a cesarean section. When you do PV, sagittal suture is lying in the transverse and it is not moving and it has got stuck there. Okay, this is non-rotation. Here, this is the same as the upper figure. If you look at the third slide, it is the same as the upper figure. It is occipital posterior, which continues to remain occipital posterior, and it's stuck there. It refuses to move anywhere, neither anterior nor posterior. This is called oblique posterior arrest or non-rotation. Okay, so the occiput gets stuck. It refuses to move anywhere. Okay, now this is a very interesting thing which happens where the occiput rotates posteriorly. Okay, so as I told you, there is this is an exception to the rule. The purpose of internal rotation is to get the denominator behind the pubic symphysis. Okay. So in LOT, LOA, and long rotation 3/8 of a circle, the denominator occiput moves behind the symphysis pubis. Okay. The exception to the rule is short posterior rotation, where the occiput rotates posteriorly. Now this happens when it is an extremely deflexed head and the frontal region of the touches the pelvic floor. So all your internal rotation depends upon which part of the baby's head is touching the pelvic floor. So whatever part of the baby's head touches the pelvic floor will try to move it forward. Now, if you see in the first picture, the occiput, it was well flexed and the occiput touched the pelvic floor. Now, during every contraction, the pelvic floor started moving it forward, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, and it went behind the symphysis pubis. Now, in the last picture, short posterior rotation, the frontal region of it was a deflexed head. In a deflexed head, the frontal part, this is a well-flexed head. Occiput is touching is well-flexed head, so the occiput will rotate anterior. Deflexed head, when the frontum touches, the pelvis will try to push the frontum towards the pubic symphysis. So this type of delivery, does anybody know what is this type of delivery called as? Where always occiput will move towards the pubic symphysis and baby delivers like this. Now, if the occiput moves posterior towards the sacral promontory and the frontum comes behind the pubic symphysis, does anybody know what is this delivery called as? What is the mechanism of delivery for this? When there is short posterior rotation and occiput, from this occipital posterior, instead of rotating 3/8 anteriorly, it moves 1/8 posteriorly and the frontum comes. The delivery is called face to pubis. Okay, a lot of papers which have corrected, and face to pubis has come as a short note in many papers, and all the students I have seen have ended up writing about face presentation when it comes as face to pubis, which is wrong. Face to pubis is when the occiput rotates posteriorly and the frontum comes behind the symphysis pubis, and the mechanism of delivery is called face to pubis. Face to pubis is not same as face presentation. Face to pubis happens in occipito-posterior when the occiput, instead of rotating anteriorly, rotates posteriorly. Okay, we'll see a little more about this in detail. Next slide, please. Okay, so in 90% of cases, we have occipito-posterior favorable circumstances where there is internal rotation of the head, 3/8 of a circle, shoulders of rotating 2/8 of a circle. So if you compare LOP, LOT, and LOA, the only step which changes is internal rotation. The diameter is going to be suboccipitofrontal or occipitofrontal. It won't be Occipito-posterior position 1. One-eighth, shoulders rotate. So 2/8 of a circle, shoulders rotate. Everything else is same as left occipito anterior. So when can we expect this to happen? Why in 90% of cases this happens? If there is good uterine contractions, if there is adequate pelvis, if the head is well flexed, and there is good tone of levator ani. The tone of levator ani is very important to cause internal rotation. If the levator ani have a very poor tone, the baby's head will not rotate. Okay, similar thing is uterine contraction. But the uterus has to push the head against the pelvic floor. Only then the head is going to rotate. Adequate pelvis. Spinous diameter is not adequate. It can get stuck. Deep transverse arrest. Both the spines are pressing against the baby. It is not letting the baby rotate anteriorly. Okay. And if it is a deflexed head, I told you, if this part touches, it goes in for face to pubis. So these 4 factors are important for your long rotation, favorable circumstances. There has to be good uterine contractions. The pelvis should be adequate. The head should be well flexed. And there has to be good tone of levator ani. If that is there is 3/8 of a circle rotation of the occiput, which is a very favorable outcome for occipito posterior. Next slide. Okay, so engagement. Okay, as I told you, what you have to remember in occipito posterior is engagement is happening with the engaging diameter being suboccipitofrontal or occipitofrontal. It is not suboccipitopragmatic, which is 9.5, slightly larger diameters, suboccipitofrontal or occipitofrontal. Engagement, descent flexion, internal rotation, 3/8 of a circle, shoulders rotating, 2/8 of a circle, crowning extension, restitution, external rotation. Everything else is similar. Okay. The only difference is the occiput, which was facing the left sacroiliac joint, has to move 135 degrees, 3/8 of a circle to come behind the pubic symphysis, because the neck cannot sustain this torsion minus 90 degrees. 90 degrees, the shoulders will move. Okay. So that is how the shoulders move when there is occipito posterior. Next slide. Delivery in occipito posterior. Now short posterior rotation. Okay. Can you see this? So very rarely we see the baby's face facing the pubic symphysis. So when this happens, when the baby's face is facing the pubic symphysis, this delivery is called as face to pubis. Okay, this is not the same as face presentation. In face presentation, this is a well flexed head. Face presentation is a completely extended head where the face, when you do PD examination, the face you will feel down. Eyes and all you're going to feel down when you do PD. This is still vertex presentation, but always the baby's face will move towards the sacral promontory. I told you, occiput move towards the pubic symphysis. The baby's face is going to be sacral promontory. In very rare position from occiput to posterior, occiput goes to sacral promontory. Baby's face faces the pubic symphysis. This kind of delivery is called face to pubis delivery. Okay, next slide. So I told you the unfavorable outcomes. The occiput, it will remain in the same position, oblique posterior arrest, 1/8 of a circle and arrest, deep transverse arrest. Mal rotation goes posteriorly. Either it gets arrested there or delivers as face to pubis. The face faces the pubic symphysis. Next slide. So the mechanism of face to pubis is the face of the baby. If you can see in the picture where you can see the baby coming out, where you can see the sacral promontory, the pubic symphysis, the nose of the baby or the glabella hinges against the pubic symphysis. Once that happens, flexion happens. Okay. So flexion happens, releasing the brow, the vertex, and the occiput. After that, extension happens. So the delivery in face to pubis of the head, what you have to remember is first flexion followed by extension. Everything else is same, restitution and external rotation. I will demonstrate to you with the skull and pelvis. Okay, so in a LOA position, delivery of the head is by extension. In a face to pubis, okay, when the face is facing the pubis, the nose gets stuck near the pubic symphysis. Delivery is by flexion. Once the occiput gets released, the rest of the face, which is behind the pubic symphysis, has to get released. That will extend and release the face. Next slide. Okay. Before we go to breech, I will demonstrate occipito posterior. Yeah. Can we stop screen sharing? Okay. Now the commonest occipito-posterior position is it ROP or LOP? Is it right occipito-posterior or left occipito-posterior is common? Yeah, ROP. Why is right occipito-posterior common? Why is right occipito-posterior common than left occipito-posterior? Because of dextrorotation of the uterus. The uterus is more rotated towards the sigmoid colon on the left. That is another reason. Uterus is dextrorotated, so the occiput tends to deviate to the right, and plus sigmoid colon is on the left, so there is no space for the baby to occupy the left side of the pelvis. Here there is sigmoid colon, so the baby's head accommodates in the right. Okay. So I will show you the mechanism in ROP. This is ROP. Okay. Longitudinal line, cephalic presentation, vertex presenting part, engaging diameter, suboccipitofrontal or occipitofrontal. This is another difference between flexed. It is suboccipitofrontal or occipitofrontal. So with the occiput is facing the right sacroiliac joint. This is right occipitoposterior. The diameter of engagement. What is the diameter of engagement here? The sagittal suture is in which oblique diameter? What is the diameter of engagement here? No. Right oblique. The sagittal suture is like this. It is going from the right sacroiliac joint to this. See, this is in LOA position. Also, it is right oblique. ROP position also, it is right oblique. Can you find out? So in occipito-posterior presentation, they will always engage in the same oblique diameter. ROP, right oblique. LOP, left oblique. In occipito-anterior position, they will engage in the opposite oblique diameter. LOA, right oblique. ROA, left oblique. Can you see the direction of sagittal suture? It is in the left oblique. Okay, you have to remember that. So in ROP, the diameter of engagement is right oblique. Okay, favorable circumstances. So when they ask you demonstrate the mechanism of labor, start that in 90% favorable circumstances, good contraction, flexion, and good tone of levator NI. There is engagement, head enters, descent, and increasing flexion. Now occiput touches the pelvic floor, and the pelvic floor tries to rotate it towards the pubic symphysis. That is the purpose of the pelvic floor. Whatever part touches it first, it will rotate it to the pubic symphysis. Now this is well flexed head. So the occiput moves 3/8 of a circle to come behind the pubic symphysis. Okay, shoulders will move 2/8. I will show you in dummy. Rest of the mechanism is same. Crowning, extension, restitution, external rotation. Same thing as LOT. Crowning, extension, restitution towards the right thigh because we start from the right side. External rotation. Sagittal suture comes towards the right thigh, faces forward. Same thing as if it was ROT or RO. Everything is the same. Okay. So let's show you in the dummy. So you have to remember that always the head and the shoulders are perpendicular. Okay, to each other. This is right occipito-posterior. Back is facing towards the right sacroiliac joint. So the head, the sagittal suture is in the right oblique. Shoulders are in left oblique, opposite diameter. Shoulders are in left oblique. Engagement, descent, flexion. Internal rotation 3/8 of a circle. Shoulders will rotate 2/8 of a circle. Okay. So at the end of internal rotation, shoulders which were there in left oblique will come to right oblique. Okay. Shoulders which were present. So this is engagement, descent, flexion. Internal rotation, occiput came behind the pubic symphysis. Shoulders will left oblique. They will move 1/8. They will come anterior-posterior 2/8. Shoulders came from left oblique diameter to right oblique. So this is how it is going to be at the end of internal rotation. Occiput is going to be towards the pubic symphysis. Shoulders are going to be in the left oblique diameter. Everything is the same. Crowning, extension, untwisting, restitution. Now they're in the same line, the head and the shoulders. Now shoulders from left oblique have to come into AP. External rotation of the head. Occiput facing towards the right thigh. Okay. So right occipito-posterior, Occiput and the back facing the right sacroiliac joint, engagement, descent, flexion, internal rotation, 3/8 of a circle, occiput facing pubic symphysis, shoulders move from left oblique diameter to right oblique, crowning, extension, untwisting, restitution, okay? External rotation of the head corresponding to internal rotation of shoulders to AP diameter. This completes the favorable outcome of right occipital posterior, where there is 3/8 of a circle rotation. And corresponding to that, there is 2/8 of a circle rotation of the shoulders. Okay. Now coming to unfavorable outcomes. So this is right occipital posterior. The head in this is refusing to move. Okay. So it has got stuck here. This is called oblique posterior arrest. Right occipital posterior continues to remain even at the end of full dilatation and descent. The head refuses to move. The occiput is still facing the right sacroiliac joint. This is called as oblique posterior arrest. Now the head moves like this, and the sagittal suture comes in the transverse diameter, but beyond which. So can you see sagittal suture is in the transverse diameter at the level of ischial spine, so it has got stuck. This is called deep transverse arrest. Beyond this, the occiput does not move like this. Okay, this continues to be stuck. The sagittal suture comes into the, it does not move like this. It gets stuck in the transverse diameter. This is called as deep transverse arrest. Okay, so oblique posterior arrest, deep transverse arrest. Now the exception where the occiput, instead of moving to the symphysis pubis, moves towards the sacral promontory. So the occiput which was here will move towards the sacral promontory. Now the face is facing the symphysis pubis. The face of the baby is facing the symphysis pubis. The delivery here is called face to pubis. Here first the nose hinges against the, it's difficult to demonstrate, the skull is big for the pelvis. The nose hinges against the under the surface of the pubic symphysis, and the first delivery is by flexion. Okay, the vertex is released, the brow is released, the vertex and the occiput is released. Still the nose is stuck here. To release the nose, then the baby extends its head and the rest of the face. So delivery is by, when it is positioned, flexion, the brow is released, vertex is released, occiput is released. Now it has to release the nose, which has got stuck here. So then the baby extends its head and releases the nose and the face. So this is face to pubis delivery. Okay. This is a rare condition where the denominator, instead of moving towards the symphysis pubis, denominator rotates towards the sacral promontory. Otherwise, at the end of internal rotation, wherever the denominator of the occiput is, it always rotates to the symphysis pubis. Here, there is in face to pubis, the denominator, which is the occiput, rotates to the sacral promontory, bringing the face to the pubic symphysis. Yes. Let me start the screen sharing. Okay, coming to breech presentation. Breech presentation is when the caudalic pole occupies the lower pole. Now, why does this happen? It can be because in prematurity. Prematurity also, the breech tends to occupy the lower pole. Factors preventing spontaneous version, like a flexed leg helps in rotation, whereas an extended leg acts like a splint and prevents it from rotating. Favorable adaptation, hydrocephalus. The head is bigger, so it is more comfortable in the fundus. Placenta previa, less space in the lower pole. So that is why the head tries to go and occupy the upper pole. Contracted pelvis. Again, when there is less space, the breech comes into the lower pole. Undue mobility of the fetus, like in polyhydramnios, and fetal abnormalities. Where there is less tone, muscular tone, like myotonic dystrophies. Also, we have breech presentation. Okay. There are 3 types of breech. With a dummy, they can also ask you to demonstrate how to hold the baby in frank breech, complete breech, and footling breech. The first picture is frank breech, where there is flexion at the hip joint and extension at the knee joint. Okay. This flexion at the hip joint and extension on the knee joint. This is frank breech. Complete breech is the same thing when you see in cephalic, the baby is in fetal position, flexion at every joint possible. But the only thing is the baby's head is in the fundus and the breech is in the lower pole. So complete breech is same as cephalic, but ulta. Okay. But in frank breech, the knee joint is extended. In footling breech, there is partial extension at the hip joint, partial extension at the knee joint, 1 or 2. It need not be both. So because of which, at the level of the cervix, the part of the baby which is presenting is the foot. Okay, next slide. Now, when you're describing mechanism of labor in the breech, you have to describe it at 3 levels. Okay, so whatever movements are happening at 3 different levels: at the level of the buttocks, the shoulders, and the head. So 3 engaging diameters come into play. The engaging diameter for the buttocks is between the 2 trochanters. It is the bitrochanteric. It is half centimeter more than your biparietal, about 10 centimeters. Okay. Bisacromial, which is between the acromion processes, it is about 12 centimeter. So that diameter, when it goes into the pelvis, you said that shoulder has engaged. And head is going to be slightly deflexed. So it's not going to be suboccipitobregmatic. It's going to be half centimeter more. It is going to be suboccipitofrontal, which is 10 centimeter. So when you're explaining the mechanism of labor and breech, you have to be very clear about the 3 engaging diameters, which are bitrochanteric, bisacromial, and suboccipitofrontal. Okay. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. So this is how the breech delivers. In the figure A, B, and C, we can see the baby's breech escaping. So usually it is left sacroanterior, where the sacrum is facing the left iliopubic eminence, that the baby enters. And to come out of the pelvis, the breech has to come into the AP diameter. And then the breech comes out when it comes into the AP diameter. As I told you, in the outlet, anything has to come out of the outlet, it has to come into AP diameter. Breech has to come in AP diameter. If you can see the slide E, again, to enter the pelvis, the diameter which it chooses is oblique. Like the breech entered the pelvis through the oblique diameter of the pelvis, then it rotated and came out through the AP diameter of the outlet. So that if that is clear in your mind, then every mechanism is the same. Engagement will happen either to the transverse or the oblique diameter of the inlet. Delivery, when by the time it has to come to internal rotation and delivery, it has to come into the AP diameter of the outlet. So same thing happens in breech, shoulders, and buttocks. The breech enters in the oblique diameter, delivers in the AP diameter. Shoulders enters in the oblique diameter. Again, if you can see in picture E, shoulders are delivering through AP diameter. Head is entering through the oblique diameter. Now, finally, can you see the occiput in figure G is facing towards the pubic symphysis, which is always, even in a normal cephalic presentation, occiput has to face the symphysis pubis. It has come into the AP diameter and the occiput delivers. Yeah, next slide. So this is what you have to remember. Engagement happens in either transverse or oblique diameter. Internal rotation, purpose of internal rotation is to get the diameter into AP. So the engaging diameter. So there is engagement, descent, and we do not use the word flexion. So for others, we have used the word flexion. So what is happening here is compaction. Okay, because your soft tissues, they're bunching up the soft tissues together and making the diameter smaller. So this is another difference between the terminology between breech and other presentation. You do not say flexion, you say engagement, descent, compaction. Okay, the engaging diameter is bitrochanteric. It in left sacro-anterior position, it enters into the oblique diameter and enters into the pelvis. There is descent with compaction. Anterior buttock reaches the pelvic floor. Internal rotation is trying to get it into AP, so the buttocks come into AP diameter, 1/8 of a circle. So the first anterior buttock will be behind the pubis symphysis. Then there is descent and lateral flexion. Okay. After this, there is restitution. Again, the buttocks have to move into oblique diameter because above the buttocks, the shoulders are going to enter in the oblique diameter. Shoulders cannot, if the buttocks are like this in AP diameter, shoulders cannot enter the pelvis in the AP diameter because what is the diameter of the shoulders? How much centimeter is it? Bisacromial diameter is how much centimeter? 12. It's very big. 12 centimeter. Yeah. And what is the obstetric conjugate? The diameter of the inlet through which the baby has to enter. That is the smallest AP diameter of the inlet. Obstetric conjugate. How much centimeter is that? 10. So a 12 centimeter diameter cannot enter through 10 centimeters in the AP diameter of the inlet. So shoulders have to come into oblique diameter to enter into the 10 centimeters. So 12 centimeters bisacromial cannot come in AP. So once the buttocks come out in AP, buttocks will rotate like this. So the shoulders enter in the AP diameter. How much is the AP diameter of the inlet? 12. Okay. So 12 centimeters of shoulder will get accommodated in the 12 centimeters of the oblique diameter of the inlet, and the shoulders enter. Once the shoulders enter, again when they come to the outlet, they cannot come out through the oblique diameter. They have to come into the AP diameter. They come into AP diameter because the largest diameter at the outlet is 13 centimeters AP. Shoulders enter. Then shoulders are delivered through the AP diameter. Now comes the head. Now head is again 10 centimeter. Now 10 centimeter head cannot enter like that into the pelvis because obstetric conjugate is 10 centimeter. It becomes too tight for the baby. It wants to be relaxed and come into the spacious space. So again, once the shoulders come out like this, again we'll rotate the head enters in the oblique diameter. Okay, this 10 centimeter head wants to enter in the 12 centimeter space. Head enters in the oblique diameter. Once the head comes in, then there is rotation of the head. Head is entering in the head is delivered out. Head, the occiput comes near behind the pubic symphysis. Occiput delivers out of the pelvis. Next slide. Yeah, so bisacromial, as I told you, will not engage in AP. Bisacromial diameter will engage in oblique, deliver an internal rotation 45 degrees, come into AP. After coming into anterior posterior, anterior shoulder hitches the pubic symphysis and the posterior shoulder delivers first, as in the first picture. After that, you pull the baby down and deliver the anterior shoulder. Okay. In cephalic presentations, you deliver the anterior shoulder first and then you pull out the posterior shoulder. In breech, the posterior shoulder will be delivered first, followed by the anterior shoulder ulta. Okay. Next slide, please. Delivery of the head. Again, so what you have to remember in breech is every diameter is engaging in the oblique diameter of the pelvis. After that, internal rotation, they're coming into the AP diameter. Occiput rotates 45 degrees under the pubic symphysis. Head is borne by flexion. The delivery of the head is by flexion. Next slide, please. Okay, there are three methods of vaginal delivery: spontaneous, assisted breech, and breech extraction. Spontaneous is rarely done. Spontaneous is hands off. You don't touch the baby at all. You let the baby deliver on its own. When the baby comes, you just catch the baby. Rarely happens. This happens in a very small or dead baby or macerated baby, 1.5 kg baby, where the baby comes out on its own. Very rarely it happens. So what is being followed is assisted breech. Assisted breech is hands off till you see the umbilicus of the baby. Okay. So till you see the umbilicus of the baby, you do not touch the baby. The baby just climbs out of the perineum and there is the umbilicus is seen. After that, you pull out the umbilical cord and keep it to one side so that you don't want to get it compressed. Then you help in delivery of the shoulders and the head. So this is what should be followed for every breech. So if you're doing a vaginal breech delivery, you should do a assisted breech delivery, which is just observation till the buttocks, the legs, and till the umbilicus part of the baby is delivered, following which you intervene and help in delivery of the arms and the shoulders and the head. Now, breech extraction is a method where the breech is still inside. And there is one more difference in terminology in breech is climbing the perineum. Like for how we say the head is crowning, we do not say the breech is crowning. We say the breech is climbing the perineum. So when the breech is like at the vulval outlet and stretching the vulval outlet, and you can see the breech for about 4 to 5 centimeters, we said that breech is climbing the perineum. From that point onwards, you put your hands in between the thighs and you pull out the entire baby. This is called breech extraction. More chances of causing fractures in the baby and injuries in the baby. So breech extraction happens. You do it when there is fetal distress or cord prolapse or some complication not routinely done. And breech extraction should be done under general anesthesia because it is painful for the mother. Spontaneous rarely happens. Dead baby, premature babies. The mode of delivery of vaginal breech is assisted breech delivery. Breech extraction is in rare situations where the entire from the buttocks to the head, you are pulling and delivering the baby or pushing it from top and delivering the baby. Next slide. Okay. Now they will also ask you how to deliver the head of the baby. So we have Burns-Marshall method, forceps delivery method, malar flexion, shoulder traction method. Okay. So if you look at figure A, it is malar flexion, shoulder traction, where the baby is lying on your left hand and the 2 fingers of your left hand are pressing on the malar eminences of the baby. The right hand is causing flexion, okay, and shoulder traction. Okay, the 2 fingers are on the occiput and trying to push the head and maintain flexion, and the other fingers are pulling on the shoulder. So this is one way of delivery of the baby. Okay, this is malar flexion, shoulder traction. So A and B figures are showing this method of delivery of the head. Okay, malar flexion, shoulder traction. Now, figure 26.17 is Burns-Marshall, which is a very scary method. It's again hands off. You just let the baby hang on by its own weight, and a suprapubic pressure is given by the assistant on the baby, on the abdomen of the mother to maintain flexion. So by this method, you wait till up to the subocciput comes out under the pubic symphysis, and then You take hold of the feet and rotate the baby in a clockwise direction over the mother's abdomen, and you release the baby's head. Okay. The other one is figure 26.19 is forceps delivery. Do you know the name of the forceps used for delivery of breech? It's a special type of forceps. Okay, here you hold the breech by this towel. The rest of the baby's, yes, very good. Piper's forceps. So this is a little longer than your normal forceps. So, and your assistant is putting a cloth around the baby's body and lifting it up. So you go underneath the baby's body and you apply forceps to the baby's head and you deliver it. So these are the three methods: Burns-Marshall, forceps delivery, and malar flexion shoulder traction. Which is the best method for delivery of aftercoming head among these three? Any idea? Is it forceps, malar flexion shoulder traction, or Burns-Marshall? Which is the best method to deliver the baby's head with least amount of injury? Excellent. Forceps. Forceps is the best method to deliver the baby. You're delivering the baby in a controlled manner. Now, the problem with the breech delivery is the head gets delivered very fast. So the baby's head does not have time for molding or to adjust to the changes happening in the genital organs. So when you put forceps, it acts like a protective cage for the baby's head, and you can control the slow delivery of the head, which helps in this delivery. Okay, the worst method among these three is, so the forceps is the best method to deliver the head of the breech. Which is the worst method among these three? Yeah, Burns-Marshall. Burns-Marshall, because when you let the baby hang like this, you actually have no control. And instead of flexing, the baby's head can get extended, and then you are in deep soup and you don't know what to do, because once the baby's head extends, it's very, very difficult to deliver the baby. Okay, so the Burns-Marshall is the worst technique which you can follow. Forceps is the best technique, but usually what we end up doing is malar flexion shoulder traction. That is what we are commonly following in our labor rooms. Yeah. Can you send me the next slide? Okay, before we go to face presentation, yeah, can you stop the screen sharing? I think we are, our time is finishing. So quickly I will show you. This is complete breech. Okay, where there is flexion here. Okay, both of the feet. This is extended breech. Okay, and this is foot link. Okay, so these are the three types of breech. Now coming to the mechanism of labor. So you have to start mechanism of labor in breech. It is a longitudinal line. Presentation is breech. The presenting part is the buttocks, genitalia. Okay, if it is a frank breech, buttocks, genitalia, and feet if it is a complete breech. Denominator. What is the denominator in breech? What is the denominator? Sacrum. Okay. So by the relationship of the sacrum to the pelvis, you prescribe the position. So the denominator is sacrum. If they ask you what is the engaging diameter, there are three engaging diameters: bitrochanteric, bisacromial, suboccipitofrontal. So when these diameters pass, that part you say has engaged. Okay. Bitrochanteric, bisacromial, and suboccipitofrontal. Okay. So you start tell all these things, and then you start your mechanism of labor. So I'm going to tell you, say that I'm going to tell you the mechanism of labor in left sacro-anterior. The back of the baby is facing the left iliopubic eminence. Okay. So the diameter of engagement. So this is the bitrochanteric. It is entering in which diameter of the pelvis? Which diameter of the pelvis is it entering in? The bitrochanteric diameter. Yes, very good. Left oblique. So in left sacro-anterior position, the breech is entering in left oblique. Engagement done. Engagement, descent, compaction, internal rotation. Breech has to come into anterior posterior. So breech comes into anterior posterior. Once the breech comes, internal rotation, 1/8 of a circle, breech comes into anterior posterior. Delivery of the buttocks. Okay. Delivery of the buttocks takes place. What happens once the delivery of the buttocks? Now the shoulders have to enter into the pelvis. Now shoulders cannot enter the pelvis in AP diameter. I told you obstetric conjugate is 10 centimeter. Shoulder bisacromial 12 centimeters. So breech is, again, there is restitution, untwisting, and the breech goes like this. Like how it was in the uterus, like left sacroanterior, it goes like this, so that the shoulders can enter in the left oblique diameter. So the shoulders went into left oblique and engage, then descend. Okay, and then comes, shoulders have to come into AP. So External rotation of the breech corresponding to internal rotation of shoulders into AP, delivery of the shoulders. After delivery of shoulders, baby is like this, shoulder is in AP. Head cannot usually enter into this. So it goes again like how it was inside, like left sacroanterior. The head enters into the right oblique. Now the sagittal suture is like this. The suboccipitofrontal is like this. Now I think because of mirroring effect, you can't really make out left and right. Some of the problems with digital classes. So here, right oblique diameter is the sagittal suture is there. So this is right oblique. The head enters in right oblique. So you have to remember that in breech presentation, left sacroanterior, the breech is entering in left oblique. Shoulders are entering in left oblique. But head always is opposite direction to shoulders. So head is entering in right oblique diameter engagement. So suboccipitofrontal head engages in right oblique. Internal rotation, occiput comes behind pubic symphysis. Now the head is like this. Okay. Body is out. How will the head deliver? By flexion. Head delivers by flexion. Okay. Occiput, vertex, brow, and face delivers. So head delivers by flexion. So in vertex, head is delivering by extension. Breech, the body has already come out. So the head is delivering by flexion. Okay. So this is the mechanism of labor in breech. Left sacroanterior. If you want me to show you right sacroanterior. Right sacroanterior. Okay. Sacrum is towards the right sacroiliac joint. Okay. Engagement. The bitrochanteric is entering in the right oblique. Descent, compaction, internal rotation, shoulder. The buttocks coming to the AP diameter. Delivery of the buttocks. After the buttocks come out, now the shoulder has to come into the oblique, so it will rotate again like this. Shoulders come into right oblique. After that, only they enter into the pelvis. Once they come into the oblique, once they enter into the pelvis, then the shoulders will come into, once they enter like this, again they come into AP, delivery of the shoulders. Again, the head enters in the left oblique. After it enters into the left oblique, rotation of the head. So by the time the rotation you will see always the back is anterior. Never show like this. Breech with face and chest anterior. Always breech, there should be back anterior. So occiput against the pubic symphysis, back anterior, delivery of the head by flexion. Okay. Now this is how you demonstrate. So one on your left hand, the baby is lying, malar flexion, shoulder traction. Your index finger and middle finger is on the malar eminences. One hand this side, one hand that side, one leg this side, one leg that side. Index finger is on one shoulder. Middle finger is on the occiput and maintaining flexion. The other two fingers are on the right shoulder. Okay. Maintain this position, flexion, flexion, and deliver. This is malar flexion, shoulder traction. Okay. They can also ask you to demonstrate malar flexion, shoulder traction. Okay. Piper's forceps is just lift the baby's head, put forceps from below, deliver the head. Barnes-Marshall, letting the baby hang, following which you hold the feet and deliver the baby like this. Put it over the mother's abdomen. Okay. So this is Barnes-Marshall, okay, which we are not following. That is about breech presentation. Can we start screen sharing? Okay. So face presentation, longitudinal line, attitude. There is complete flexion of everywhere else other than the neck. Okay, there is extension of the head, because of which when you do field examination, you will feel the presenting part as the face. The denominator here is the mentum. There are two diameters which are submentopragmatic and submentovertical, which is equal 11.5 centimeters. Yes, next slide. Okay, so why does a fetus go into face presentation? That is because there are some problems with the neck and the baby cannot flex its head well, like there is a goiter or too many cords around the neck. So flexion is not possible. It goes into extension and the face comes as the presenting part. Multiparity, pendulous abdomen, contracted pelvis also will prevent full flexion of the head and cause extension. So anything preventing full flexion of the head is going to cause extension of the head and cause face presentation. Next slide. So there is mento anterior and mento posterior. So vaginal examination, you will be able to feel the nose, the supraorbital ridges, the eyes, and the mouth. That is how you diagnose it is face. Okay. So mento anterior is favorable, mento posterior is not favorable. Okay. The diameter of engagement is same as LOA. Okay. Left mento anterior is same as LOA. The difference is again in the diameters. There in LOA, the engaging diameter of the head is suboccipitobregmatic 9.5. Here it is submentobregmatic 9.5. So engaging diameter, engagement, descent with increasing extension. You have to remember that face presentation is already extended. So if you have to, when it is completely extended, it will give the smallest diameter. So in vertex presentation, there is increasing flexion to make the diameter small. In face presentation, there is increasing extension to make the diameter small. So the third step changes in face. Engagement, descent, and extension. Increasing extension. So because there is increasing extension, internal rotation, everything else is same. Delivery is by flexion. So maximum the baby's head has extended. So the delivery has to be by flexion. Okay, so these are the differences. The differences between left occipito-anterior and left mento-anterior is engaging diameter of the head, descent with extension, not descent with flexion, delivery by flexion. These are the only three changes between LOA and LMA. Next slide, please. Okay. Why mento-posterior is a problem is when the mentum rotates posterior, like here, where the mentum is not come towards the pubic symphysis. When this happens, the diameter which comes into play is the bregmaticosternum. From bregma to the sternum of the baby, that diameter goes into the pelvis, tries to enter the pelvis. That diameter is 18 centimeters. There is no mechanism of labor for an 18 centimeter diameter to enter the pelvis. So in mento-posterior position, there is no mechanism of labor in posterior rotation. If it rotates anteriorly, it can rotate from mento-posterior like ROP, create of a circle. If it rotates and mentum comes towards the pubic symphysis, then the baby can be delivered. But if the mentum goes towards the sacral promontory, there is no way that this baby is going to come out of the pelvis because the diameter becomes bregmaticosternal. This cannot be accommodated in the pelvis, resulting in obstructed labor. Next slide. Bro presentation, again, there is no mechanism of labor in an average size baby. So here, you won't feel the mouth of the baby when you're doing PV. You will feel the supraorbital ridges and the bro. And there is no mechanism for bro because what is the engaging diameter of bro? Mento vertical. How much centimeter is it? 14 centimeters. So there is no mechanism for a 14 centimeter diameter to enter to the pelvis. So unless it is extremely premature, a bro is not going to enter into the pelvis. Yeah. Next slide. Thank you. Okay. Can you stop slide showing? I'll sharing and then show you the mechanism of labor and face. So as I told you, if you have to demonstrate face, you have to start with ROP, right occipital posterior, and then deflex the head and get the mentum towards the iliopubic eminence. So this is left mento anterior. So just like you put occiput here, imagine that the mentum is in the iliopubic eminence. Engagement, descent with extension. First change. First change is diameters are submentobregmatic and submentovertical. And when you say engagement, descent, flexion, you say engagement, descent with extension. Internal rotation 1/8 of a circle. Okay, shoulders will not move, only 1/8 of a circle. Mentum comes behind symphysis pubis. Crowning, delivery of the head by flexion. The baby is already too much extended and the occiput is touching the back of the baby. So the delivery of the head is by extension. The rest of the steps is same. Mentum goes back to where it was. Restitution, external rotation, shoulders will come into AP, delivery. Everything else is the same. So start from ROP and then show the left mento anterior. So in this, like this it is. So when you put the mentum, what you can see here is the eyes and the nose. So this is left mento anterior. So this is how you're supposed to hold the face. So engagement, descent, and extension, not flexion. Internal rotation 1/8 of a circle. Crowning. Because there's already extension, delivery of the head is by flexion. After flexion, it has to go back to this. Restitution, untwisting. After untwisting, the shoulders have to come into AP diameter. So, external rotation of the head, sagittal suture and transverse knee, shoulders have entered into AP. Delivery of the shoulders. This is the only difference between LMA and LOA. Engaging diameter is different. Instead of flexion, you say extension, and delivery you say is by flexion. Okay, all the other steps are same as LOA. Yes. Too much information crammed up in one session. Any doubts? Yeah. So we have completed our full 1.5 hours. So no time for your quiz.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this enlightening session. We have a few queries for you to answer. We'll be starting with the Q&A session. The first question is, ma'am, what is the indication of C-section in breech presentation? Is it preferred over normal delivery?
Yeah. So there was this trial which was done in America called the term breech trial, TBT, okay, done by Hannah et al. And they compared singleton breech. They compared a lot of mothers who were allowed to go for vaginal breech delivery and a lot of mothers who were allowed to go for cesarean section. And at the end of this trial, they decided that vaginal breech is associated with a lot of injuries, visceral injuries and intracranial hemorrhage and fractures. And so what they say is every primigravida with breech presentation has to be taken for cesarean section. There is no role for vaginal breech delivery. That is what they say. So if you want to do vaginal breech delivery, it has to be a multi-para, previously tested pelvis. She's had a previous normal delivery. Only then that we are trying now for breech delivery. But if it is a first delivery primigravida and you diagnose breech presentation, in most centers, they are directly taking up the patient for a cesarean section because of this term breech trial, which was conducted by Hannah et al. So that is the indication for cesarean section in breech. Primigravida breech section. Multipara breech, and if only the patient is if she wants to try for normal, then we allow for vaginal breech. Vaginal breech delivery is actually an art, and not many are trained in it. There has to be really a trained obstetrician to do a vaginal breech delivery. Yeah.
We have another question. Ma'am, can you demonstrate compaction?
Can I demonstrate?
Compaction.
Compaction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So engagement distance, compaction is just bunching up of the tissues. Like when it is going, like the breech is like this, when it is going in. Flexion is trying to make the diameter less. So compaction also, it is just trying to, the squeezing up of the tissues when it is going into the pelvis. That is compaction. Okay, nothing but just squeezing. Because of the pressure by the pelvic walls and the cervix, the squeezing up of the tissues is called compaction. So that's the terminology for breech. So instead of the terminology flexion, you use the terminology compaction. That is decreasing whatever diameter is entering into the pelvis.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a wonderful session on mechanism of labor and malpresentation. It has been a very insightful and interesting webinar. We all will be eagerly waiting for the next session.
Thank you all. Thank you.